Hey everyone, it's Alison Heikkila. Thanks so much for joining me today. We are going to make a sweet as can be card together. I am starting off with the Double Honeycomb Stencil from A Colorful Life Designs. This is brand new for February. I love it. I think it's really cool. And the Tumbled Hexagons Embossing Folder from Simon Says Stamp. This is a 3D embossing folder. It's got great texture. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to combine the two together. So I grabbed my 6x6 gel press plate. I've been really liking how it holds my cardstock when I want to ink blend. So I've been using that a bit more often lately, and I'm really satisfied with it as opposed to using like washi tape or something like that, especially when I'm covering a whole panel the way I am now. I have Fresh Lemon Crisp Dye Ink from Altenew. This is part of the Pocketful of Sunshine 4-piece ink cube set. I love these yellows. I'm not really a yellow person. I know I've said this in videos before, but these yellows are fabulous together. Pretty much anytime I'm doing like a bee card or something with honey or with several yellows, I'm using these inks. They're fabulous. Now I have the maple yellow. I decided that I wanted to have the a darker portion at the bottom of the card. I was originally just going to use the fresh lemon, but I thought it'd be a little bit more interesting if I added a darker area. So that's what I'm doing here. Again, this is a 4-pack of inks, but I'm only using 3 of the colors today. I will have all of the supplies listed in my description box below, so make sure that you check that out. Look at how cool that looks. I love that. Isn't that a neat stencil? Make sure that if you shop with A Colorful Life Designs, you use my code ALFAN10 and you will save 10% on your purchase except for master bundles. Those are already deeply discounted. So I sprayed the back of the cardstock that I'm using. I'm not using anything fancy here either, you guys. I'm just using Accent Opaque, 100 pound. It might be 110. I don't recall. It's definitely not the 120. I don't have that. And I ran that through my brand new Sizzix switch, and take a look at that dimension from that embossing folder. It's so cool, but we need it to stand out a little bit more. So I grabbed the Honey Drizzle, which is the darkest color in this set. I didn't use the palest color on this card, so I used the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th colors. And I'm just super lightly kissing that ink to where the surface has been raised by the embossing folder. I don't want to press hard because I don't want to accidentally get it where there aren't embossed hexagons. And I don't need to even fill in the ones that are fully embossed. I don't know if you can tell, but some of them are just outlines, some of them have thicker outlines, and then some of them are full hexagons. So I'm not trying to go crazy and fill in the huge ones completely because I don't want to push too hard and accidentally get my stenciled background. Just super light, swirling it around, and I think it looks super duper cool. I love this effect. Now I have the Beelieve stamp set from Hero Arts. I love this set. Those chonky bees make me smile every time I use them, and I have used them a lot. This is definitely one of my most used sets, especially from Hero, because of those bees. I just love them. If you give me anything bats and anything bees, I'm a happy camper. So I've got some Copic friendly paper and some Memento ink in Tuxedo Black, and I am stamping that chonky bee a couple of times just so that I can get it nice and crisp. Now I'm wiping it off with my stamp chamois from Lawn Fawn. That baby has seen some better days. It's probably time for me to replace it, but I don't want to. So now I'm going to just trim off the excess. I'm not cutting the whole thing right now. And then I'm going to color it super fast with a couple of Copics. Like super fast, you guys. We're going to use Y08 and Y06 for the yellows. Here they are. And I really don't need to go crazy with this. It doesn't need to be super detailed. I mean, if you want to, be my guest, have a great time. But I didn't feel that it was necessary because I really wanted the focus to be on the background and not so much the bee, but you know, you do you. So I'm just using the Y08 on the lower areas of the bee to make it look a little rounder, and then the Y06 on top. And now I'm just going to go over the black lines in the wings. I'm not coloring the whole thing completely with B00. But I really wanted a little bit of sparkle. So I grabbed my VersaMarker, and this is exactly the same ink that's in a VersaMark ink pad for embossing, except in a marker form. And there's two tips. I'm using the brush tip. There's also a smaller nib on the other side. I have some Stardust embossing powder from Stampendous. You might have a little bit of a hard time finding this exact one still, but whatever clear-based sparkly embossing powder that you've got at home, you can use. I didn't want to cover it with glitter per se, which is why I went with this particular one, because again, it has a clear embossing powder base in it, and then it's got a little bit of glitter. It's really pretty. So now I'm just going to brush away the excess. I should have used my embossing powder bag on here beforehand, but I didn't. Not a big deal. If we have some extra glitter on the bee, it just makes it a little fancier, right? So I'm just pushing that right back into the jar. And I don't know if you noticed, but I like to use some of the VersaMarker on top of my embossing powder jars, add a little embossing powder to it and heat it up just so that I can see exactly what it looks like when it is heat set, because it looks so different from when it's just in powder form. So look at how cute that looks. Little glittery wings. Love it. So now I'm going to cut this out, but don't worry, I'm not going to make you sit through that because it's not real exciting. I just did a loose fussy cut around it. I didn't make it super tight because I didn't want to accidentally chop off the antenna or the legs or anything. So now I have, from the Greetery, we have the Buzzworthy Sentiments. I use this a lot too. I think it's a great set. I really like that I can combine various products from all different companies and still come up with, something that's totally cohesive. If you didn't know that all of these honeycomb and bee products were from different companies, you might just assume, oh, it's just one collection because everything works so well together. But it's a lot of fun to combine products from different companies and see what you can come up with. So my favorite ink for sentiment is VersaFine Clair, and I'm using Nocturne ink. I tend to use colors when I'm doing sentiments lately because there's so many great colors in the VersaFine Clair collection, but because the bee has so much black on him, I decided to stick with black this time. So I've got the bee stamped down, and now I've got a strip, and my friend Amy from Amy's Wares, I hope you guys know who she is, she says struggle bus all the time, and my friends, I'm on the struggle bus right now. I don't know why I'm trying to use this teeny tiny strip in my MISTI when I can just grab an acrylic block. And it's not the MISTI's fault. It's because the stamp keeps sticking to my finger. I don't know why I'm even bothering with it, because typically when I have a little skinny sentiment, I just throw it on a block and then just free stamp it, as opposed to dealing with the stamp sticking to my fingers. But, I moved on and I grabbed one of my blocks and I just stamped it down again with that Nocturne ink. And you can see, even though the camera's kind of far away, just how crisp and dark that is. And because it stamps so well, I do not need to restamp it. So I have not used all of the dies in this set yet from the Greetery. So let me show you how I cut things out. That bowl there is magnetic, and I keep that attached to my desk because it has metal legs. So it's always right where I need it. And I just grabbed a set of wire cutters, and I'm just cutting them apart. So you can see that it's magnetic. Everything is sticking to it, which is fantastic. It helps when you're working with teeny tiny dies, especially because you don't have to worry about things falling away or dropping them on the floor, because that bowl is very strong. So now what I'm doing is I've got the extra bits here, the extra little wires that attach everything together, and I am removing them and putting them right into a tissue. Now, my pliers are magnetic, so that's why I have to remove those little pieces. See, now you can just throw that away and you've got your dies all cleaned up. So I have to kind of remove those little bits off of the pliers, but that's only because they're magnetic, which is a good thing for sure. But you might not have to do that with your own. So now I'm going to die cut that bee. Use my little Sizzix sidekick there for that. Didn't need to use the switch this time because it's so little. And it cut perfectly. Look at that. Loving that font. So fun. It's just a nice looking font. All right, so now we're going to trim down that extra sentiment. I'm using my Tim Holtz and Tonic guillotine or guillotine, depending on how you like to say it. I tend to say guillotine just because it's a little bit more interesting, I think. I don't know. I'm trimming a little bit off of that other edge just to kind of even it out. And now we're going to start laying out where everything is going to go. I think I'm going to adhere things down with my Barely Arts glue now as well. That looks really cute. I love the dimension. I love the honeycombs that are popping out from the background that we had originally stenciled. It looks even better in person. Those yellows are looking kind of neon on my screen right now. They are not. They're just, I'm holding the card up in the sunlight right now as I narrate this video. They're really not neon. They are a nice rich yellow, but they look different on screen. I'm hoping that in my photos that I have at the end of the video, the colors will be a little bit more true. But it's a great looking background. I'm really excited that the embossing folder and stencil worked out the way they did. So now I've got my block. It's not a heavy block, so I grabbed my tape dispenser just to make sure everything stays down, because that background is pretty dimensional. You know, it's a 3D embossing folder, so there's several different layers of dimension happening there. So making sure that you have everything held down with a block or something is definitely helpful. And that's my lovely tape dispenser. So I paused it for a minute just to let everything dry, and then we're going to move on. So I grabbed the fresh lemon again, and you guys, I was going to leave that card base white. I was, and honestly, if I made this card again, I think I would. Not that there's anything wrong with adding the ink here, because you guys know that that's, you know, what I do like 92% of the time. But I think that having that white would have been a little bit better. I wasn't super happy with having just the fresh lemon. I thought it needed a little bit more depth. And I honestly contemplated using a new card base. But then I grabbed that honey drizzle again and went around the edges just at the very edge, not hiding all of the fresh lemon. Again, just to give it some more depth. And I was happier with that. But truly, I think I should have left it white. Every once in a while, you guys, it should be white. And this was one of those times. But this looks good, too. I'm satisfied with this. Otherwise, I would have ditched it and used a new card base. I'm good with it, though. I've got Barely Arts glue again. And we are going to set that bad boy down and make sure it is in the right spot. Now I've got my big Mondo block that I'm going to use. This is an oldie from Fancy Pants. You guys remember that company? It's a good block. It's a 6x6. But that's the card, you guys. Look at how cute that came out. And here, I just added this in at the very end. I have been trying to remember to use my personal stamp on the back of the card when I finish the card, as opposed to waiting to when I'm going to mail it out. So I grabbed Ultraviolet. This is another crisp dye ink from Altenew. I always use this stamp with purple ink. Sometimes it's Catherine Pooler, sometimes it's the Ultraviolet color. But that's my stamp. That's my personal stamp. And if I do it when I get the card finished, it saves me so much time later on. I don't know. So that's just a little tip. All right, everybody. That's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this. See, you can see that it's not so neon anymore. Nice. I hope that you're inspired and you break out some bee stuff or hexagons or whatever. You'll be seeing more of that from me this month. And that's it. I will see you guys real soon. I hope you have a fantastic day. Be well, stay safe, peace out.